Hi, welcome to the shed. I'm the voice inside your head, and this is our first walkthrough project for GarageBand. So in this project, we're going to create a 4-measure drum loop, and we're also going to talk about how GarageBand works. So first things first, if you're not to this screen, you're going to go to File and then New, and now you don't need to save. Make sure you're opening an empty project. There's our empty project. Now, we have different tracks. Tracks are going to be lined up in rows over here. So I can create a new track by pressing the plus. It'll ask you what type of track you want to create, and we're going to create software instrument tracks here. So I'm going to make 3 software instrument tracks. And we are gonna label these tracks after we pick some instruments. So you click on the track, and then you can pick an instrument by looking at the library. And I'm just going to use a drum kit. I'm going to use a SoCal drum kit for each of these. Drum kit, SoCal drum kit, drum kit, SoCal drum kit. And then I'm going to label each of these tracks. This one is going to be hi-hat. This one is going to be snare. Just double clicking and then typing. And this one is going to be kick. Awesome. So we have 3 tracks, and this is called our workflow area. So each one of these numbers represents a measure, and you can zoom in by dragging this little slider. If you zoom in too close, your computer might freeze, so don't zoom in too close. You can change the size of the tracks by clicking them. You can move them around, but this is the workflow area. So we're going to create 4 measures. So we have measure 1, measure 2, measure 3, measure 4. The last measure ends right here on measure 5. So if we zoom in enough, you see how the beat is divided into 4 equal parts, and that is the 16th note subdivision. Okay, now we're ready to start making some clips. Make sure your metronome is on by clicking the metronome. It needs to be highlighted. We can change the tempo by double clicking where it says BPM, where it says 120. I'm going to change it to 80. Now, since we have this highlighted, that means you're going to get a count in before we actually play. So when I press record, you're going to get 1 measure of a count in before we play, and then it is going to record. So I'm going to show you my keyboard. If you ever wanted to see that too, you can just go to Window and then Show Keyboard. If you don't have a musical keyboard, you can go Window and then you can show musical typing instead, and it will show you the notes on the QWERTY keyboard that you can use to type different notes, but you can't do any velocity. The dynamic level that you input in is always going to be 127. It's always going to be super loud. You can't play anything soft. So I'm going to use my musical keyboard. That's not the one I wanted. I wanted this one. All right, so we're going to start with the hi-hat, and the hi-hat is the lowest F sharp you have, and bass is a low C, and snare is a low D. So our hi-hat is going to play 8th note subdivision. That means it's going to play twice per beat. So we're going to press the record. Once we make sure that the playhead, this is the playhead, is at measure 1. It's going to start recording from beat 1 of measure 1. Make sure that your track is highlighted. We're going to start with the hi-hat. You can either press R on the QWERTY keyboard, or you can press the record button. 2, 3, 4, and I want you to just do that. If you double click on this clip, this is called the clip right here. You can move the clip. You can move the clip by clicking and holding just the top brightest part, and that'll allow you to move the clip. But if you double click on it, it will open up this editor window. And you can highlight everything in here by either clicking and creating like a box and putting everything in the box, or you can press Apple A on your Mac keyboard, and then you can press Q, and what that does is it snaps everything together. So right now we have created 1 measure where the hi-hat is playing perfectly on every 8th note subdivision. If I want to loop that for 4 measures, you can take it from the top, and you see this little arrow thing. That means loop. If you drag it from here, it's just going to make it bigger. It's not going to loop anything. So you have to drag it from the top, and I want it to be 4 measures long. So it needs to end at measure 5. 4 measures doesn't mean it ends at measure 4. It fills up that 4th measure. It ends at measure 5. Now the snare drum plays on beats 2 and 4. So I'm going to highlight the snare drum track. I'm going to press record. Now I'm just going to play on beats 2 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to make a mistake here. 3, 4. Okay, if we double click on this, it should bring up our piano roll. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing I did before. I'm going to highlight everything and I'm going to press Q. Now we're going to listen back to our beat. 2, 3, 4. This time I just played it in for all 4 measures. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, something was not right in this measure right here. This drum note right there was not on beat 2. You can see this is beat 1. That's beat 2. This came in like right after beat 2. So if I pressed quantize and if it was closer to this subdivision, it's going to snap right there. We don't want to do that. You can highlight the note and just move it over. And now it's right. Now it's on beat 2. 2, 3, 4. Awesome. So we have our snare drum playing on 2 and 4. That's the back beat. Highlight new track, and let's play in a bass drum rhythm. The bass drum's going to play on 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, and the bass drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Try to get the bass drum right on the click. You shouldn't even hear that metronome. Good. Let's double click, highlight everything, quantize, listen back to make sure that it all worked out. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. Now if you wanted to make that longer, just remember you have to highlight the clip first and then drag it from the brighter section. If you drag it from anywhere else but the brighter section, it's just going to make the clip larger and nothing's going to be in there. So we could highlight everything to make sure everything's highlighted. You can either hold Shift or Apple, and then you can make everything longer. So let's say we want to do that whole 4 measures twice. That's all you would need to do. All right, good luck.